Kia ora Tone. So this is the first year that the Institute of Directors and Community Governance New Zealand have run this Tuakana-Teina Chair mentoring program. And I'm really interested to know from you, what made you sign up to be a Tuakana as part of this mentoring program?
Yeah, a number of reasons, Claire. Obviously, it is a chance to use the experience and the knowledge that I've gained over many years in a similar role. And then it's fun to meet up with new people and to have the opportunity to use some of that experience, you know, and to be of some service.
Yeah, and I guess I've had the benefit of being your Teina as part of this program and working with you as a mentor, as a mentee, sorry. And I guess for me, something that made me really interested about getting involved in the program was the opportunity to learn from someone like you and the depth of experience that you bring to governance. Particularly as well to engage in something that's around that continuous learning. For me, this really was what motivated me to get involved. I'm very conscious that as leaders we need to have a continuous learning mindset, otherwise it's really possible that we can just kind of stagnate. So it's been great to get different perspectives and learn together with you.
Yeah, and I think we started off with the idea of saying, will it fit? Will we work together? Is this something you and I can do together? You know, and so so when it was first suggested that you and I get together, I know you told me that you looked at my background and thought, what? And to some degree, so did I. Yeah. So for me, an important part of it was to get an understanding of what your charity work's about, to get an understanding of what you're trying to achieve, so that some of my experience can be made relevant, because it would otherwise not necessarily be that relevant. So my first impressions were absolutely that you and I could get on together, and I think we've proven that.
I agree, and I think that is probably one of my biggest reflections from the first few months of this program, just how important that, I guess, whakawhanaungatanga, the relationship building phase, has been for us to have a really constructive relationship as Tuakana and Teina. And I really appreciated that from the get-go, you gave me that opportunity to say, you know, did I see value in us working together? Yep. Because I agree with you when, you know, on paper I thought, oh, what are the common threads of connection here? Yes. Because you come from quite a commercial, business-oriented background, whereas my background has been much more in the government, community, NGO space. But certainly I found at that initial hui that we had together, there was so much that we had to discuss. There was a lot of commonality amongst the difference, and I actually think that for me one of the biggest benefits has been having the chance to dialogue with someone who does come from a different perspective, and through our conversations you've been able to prompt me to think in some different ways, to challenge some of my thinking from different directions as well. I think that actually there's a great strength in working with a tuakana or a mentor who doesn't come from necessarily the same background as me or work directly in the same sector. Yes, I think that's been very helpful.
To some degree, I think it's more a matter of having some understanding of how to ask the right questions. You know, I mean, what's always been a starting point for me is to simply say, what's on your mind, you know, because what's on your mind is obviously something that's worrying you or bothering you or that requires a decision or a judgment call, and that's a good place for us to start our various discussions. And you know, and I think from time to time we've been formal, from time to time we've been quite informal in this approach. You know, the other question that I quite like to ask, and that guess probably comes from my management days, is will it work? You know, so here's some thoughts, here's some plans. What do you think? Will it work? Because you have to carry it out.
That's right, and I found those very practical questions actually really helpful because they have enabled us to open up the conversation and see where it goes, but also it's meant that we've been able to workshop some of those practical challenges that I might be experiencing in my chair and governance roles in real time, which has been quite helpful. I think what this program has shown me so far, and working with you so far has shown me too, is that anyone in a governance role or in a chair role, especially in the community sector, there are challenges that come with that role. And being able to be open about those and to test out thinking has been incredibly helpful. I think it's been reassuring as well, working with the wider group of Teina, with the other mentees, to understand that the challenges are very common across our different areas of work too.
Yes.
And I know through our conversations, you've been able to share some of your experience with me, which in turn is helping me to strengthen my practice and strengthen the rōpū, the group of people that I'm working with as well.
Why the chair role for this particular course, do you think? Why not just a governance role?
Well, I do think that the particular role of the chair of a board or of a governance group is quite a particular role. So for myself, for example, I have been a trustee and director and committee member of governance groups for some time now, but this has been the first time that I've stepped into a chair role, and so I took that on a bit over a year ago. And I have to say it is quite a distinct role that brings certain specific challenges with it, and so I think that's why it's really good that this program does particularly focus on the chair role. Something that is quite different in the chair role in the governance space is that you are pulled in lots of different directions, because obviously your different members of your group or your board come with their own perspectives, and ultimately it is the role of the chair to facilitate those discussions and then hopefully to find consensus and to reach a decision. So that particular skill set around facilitating conversations and also around bringing matters to a close and to a decision that everyone can be on board with as much as possible is a particular skill. And so I think it's a really great way to learn from others who have been in that position before through this mentoring program.
So for me, the chair takes responsibility for the culture around the board and for the nature of the meeting. So as a board member, from time to time you can disappear and dream off and think about other things and go on tangents that may be of use later. But as a chair, you are there constantly, continuously, making sure that time's used valuably and that everyone gets a turn at making their contribution, because the chair's the manager and the team's there, the whole board's there to try and contribute as best they can to the operations, to the organisation, to the management.
Yes, that is something that we've talked about quite a lot in terms of the role of the chair in building that culture and ensuring that everyone can bring their strengths to the table. And I think something else as well that I've reflected on through this program is that in the community governance space, we don't have the funds or the capacity always to invest in good training for our board members and for our chairs. So that's particularly why this program is of such value. And it's my hope that for me and the other Teina who are chairs who are engaging with this program, that by learning together with you as our tuakana, that we are strengthening our own knowledge, but then we can also bring that back to the groups of people that we're working alongside and ultimately the communities that we're serving and seeking to make a difference in. So Tone, I'm interested in terms of what would be some of the tips that you might share with other tuakana, other people who are looking to take on a mentoring role, maybe in this program and in future years.
Yeah, I guess firstly, as we've already said, it's making sure that you have a similar value set, similar wavelength opportunity with your Teina, because it's building that trust and the rapport that makes it worthwhile. Then I guess my role is to try and be of some help, to be of some service. You know, I'm there to use whatever knowledge and wisdom I may have picked up over the years, and to try and apply that for your case. I also think I would say to people in my position that you're a sounding board. You're there to give ideas, and you might give a range of ideas, not so that they be carried out necessarily, but so that they be thought about, so that you know, you finish up saying, oh, okay, those are 3 good thoughts and there's only one that I'm going to run with. That sort of thing is what I think we're trying to achieve. So Claire, what would you say to people interested in this program?
Well, first of all, I'd say go for it. If this is an area that you're looking to strengthen your own professional development and skills and experience in, and also to strengthen, you know, the communities and the groups that you're serving, then go for it. Put yourself forward for this Teina Tuakana mentoring program. Go into it with an open mind and an open heart, and go into it with that learning mindset to really explore the possibilities of what you might be able to learn. I think something else I'd say to future Teina would be to think carefully about the things that you might want to really explore with your tuakana. This is quite a concentrated period of time where you have the amazing opportunity to learn from someone else who, if you like, has been there, done that. So really embrace the opportunity to learn, prepare well, and respect the time and energy that your tuakana will give to you, and that will mean that you'll both get the best out of the two-way mentoring relationship.
Claire, one of the questions that we're supposed to talk about is one that interests me because it says, what have you learned? And in actual fact, I've been really impressed by your insights into the world you live in, and so I often think, oh, you probably don't need much from me in all of this. So, but they've asked you to speak about that, and I'll talk a bit about that afterwards.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think that there have been many insights that I've taken from our conversations and working together so far. The biggest one for me, and the first one that I'll speak briefly about, is I guess that everyone brings their own style to leadership, and that's something that you and I have spoken quite a bit about. Something that I've really been prompted to think about by you again is being really clear on what are my strengths that I bring to the table, and what might be the areas where I'm a bit weaker on, or that are maybe gaps or areas for further development for myself. And being really self-reflective about that has been something that I've valued about the conversations that we've had. Mm-hmm. It's helped me to get really clear on where those strengths and gaps are for myself, and then how I actually, with that self-awareness, can bring my best leadership to the table with the groups of people that I'm working with. So that's been one big insight and really helpful thing I've found about working together. I think the second one has been around just trusting my gut and my instinct. Something that has been really helpful for me working together with you is that you have acted as a sounding board for some of the ideas and things that I've been exploring in my governance role. And most of the time you've helped me to test that from different perspectives, but and we might calibrate things a bit, but I think something that has come through is that strong reassurance that I'm on the right track, and to just really lean into that, trust my gut, and once I've listened to everyone's different perspectives, that ultimately a decision does have to be made. That is what we are doing in a governance space, and the chair has a particular role to actually facilitate that conversation and then to bring matters to a point of decision, and so that's something that has been really helpful to work through together with you.
Yes, as you say, they're all the things that you do, so that's good. So from my point of view, it's been really interesting because you are from, I guess, the next generation, and your thoughts and processes and your interests in society and your contribution to it are quite different from people of my age when they grew up. Yeah, and it's been really good to see that. You know, I look at my kids for the next generation, but there you are. I see what you're doing, and you know, technology, climate, diversity are all things that I'm really impressed with, and I watch and learn from you.
And I think for me, you know, thanks for sharing that, Tone, because I think for me this intergenerational nature of our Tuakana-Teina relationship has been something that's been particularly valuable. I have a lot that I can learn from you, but equally it is a two-way relationship, and I'm pleased that it's been of value for you as well.
Yeah, and it's been fun. You know, I always think enjoying it is an important part of whatever you do.
Absolutely.
And hopefully doing it well is an important part of what you do. And so I've been most impressed and thankful for the opportunity to do this with you.
Likewise.